Hello, welcome to Tips and Tricks Cast from us at the Grapevine. I'm news editor Andy Sophia Fontaine.
My name is Hannah Jane, and I'm the culture editor and listings director. And this is a new video series where we're going to dive into the ins and outs of living in Iceland, like very practical information. Everything from learning about the medical system to this episode, we're starting big, how to learn Icelandic.
Yes, it's a pretty broad subject. Well, I have to emphasize that this is not a comprehensive list. These is only the resources that we're familiar with.
Yeah.
So if you have other suggestions, please leave them in the comments.
Yeah.
And if you like content like this and want to see more of it and want to keep the lights on at the Grapevine offices, consider joining our High Five Club and visiting our shop. In addition, all the links that we're going to mention will be in the description below. So be sure and check that out.
Doing a pointing down.
Yeah, that is an absolute best. So, to start us up, Hannah, how did you learn Icelandic, or how are you learning?
Yeah, I went to Háskóli Íslands and I did the practical degree and then a year of the BA. I think for me that was really, really good. I liked the sort of the academic setting in that you're forced to learn grammar, whereas I find if I had just learned it from speaking it to people and reading and stuff, my grammar might be real shit. But that kind of academic option really helped. And then music, movies, and sort of forcing my friends to only speak to me in Icelandic, that really helped. Nowadays, though, I speak a lot of English, so it's like, I don't know. And how did you learn?
I learned in a way that I don't recommend to anybody. I watched a lot of television, English language television with Icelandic subtitles.
Oh, God.
Yes. And then I compared the subtitles to what I was hearing around me, and then I just tried to participate in the conversation. Now, consuming Icelandic language media is definitely a good part of learning Icelandic, but I wasn't doing that. And you might notice that Icelandic subtitles, once you start learning the language, Icelandic subtitle language is a bit different than the way Icelanders actually speak Icelandic. So we're going to try to offer here some resources that are going to be good for you, whether you live in Iceland or are currently abroad.
Lovely.
So why don't you kick us off?
Okay. So we're going to start with online options. Now, the sort of most famous and probably most comprehensive online class is called Icelandic Online. That's icelandiconline.com. Now, that's made by backed, I don't know if it's made or just backed by the University of Iceland. And it's basically online classes where I've done them. It's online classes. There's a few levels where you read passages and you answer questions and you listen to a lot of conversations and you answer questions and you learn like very basic grammar. What I'd say about Icelandic Online is it's really great for reading and listening. It's not so great for speaking. At least that's what I found. Like you have pronunciation, but I didn't leave feeling confident in speaking, but I did leave being like, oh, I can read Icelandic relatively well from this. And the other thing I'd say about Icelandic Online is it's just very nice if you're abroad, and it's also surprisingly like culturally relevant, which I found funny. Like they have all these interviews with like they'll have passages and they include like local bands in them that are like somewhat relevant, and I just think that's kind of funny.
That's
like,
nice though.
Yeah, so you'll also leave knowing some cool like hip shit in Iceland.
I think that's helpful.
Totally.
Like I'd gotten a grammar book one time that included sentences like, where can I buy 10 pairs of socks?
I say it every day.
Yeah, exactly. When are you ever going to use that sentence?
Every day.
Makes no sense. In keeping with that, there's also Tungumálatorg, the language square. And this teaches practical Icelandic. Everyday situations in where you're going to be interacting with Icelanders, such as at the shops, or going out to eat at a restaurant, or maybe trying to make small talk at a party. That's what it focuses on for the most part. And it's located in Kópavogur, which is just south of Reykjavik.
Then there's like a fair amount of YouTube lessons that vary in quality. extreme varying quality, but we recommend cool Icelandic lessons. Yes. That's sort of what I would consider the most comprehensive one on nouns, and I don't know, it just seems more legitimate than a lot of others, but obviously like no shade to small-time Icelandic YouTubers trying to spread the language.
That is true. And this may be a theme that you'll see coming up as we talk about this, is that like learning practical Icelandic, the grammar is something you're going to have to learn. Yeah. And that'll come with learning practical Icelandic. The most important thing to focus on is what stuff am I going to be saying every day?
Totally.
You know, focus on that first, and you can worry about like the 4 tenses and how to decline nouns and stuff like that. It'll come as you're speaking it.
I mean, that's real. Like the first Icelandic word every foreigner learns here is polka.
Polka.
Yeah, yes. Like at the shop. They made a joke about that in the play Polishing Iceland by the Reykjavik International Theater Company. Like that is the first word everyone learns. It means bag, and they say it at the grocery store. Yeah. You know, and you say yeah or nay. But next one, I've used this. I never used this, but we had an intern who told me about it. It's called Drops Learn Icelandic app, and it's so comprehensive. It has like thousands of nouns, but the thing is, it goes via section. It's an app. It's kind of like Duolingo. So you'll be like food, and it'll be like fisk, and it'll have a picture of a fisk, or it'll be like skinka, and it has a picture of a ham or whatever. But it's funny because you don't really learn any grammar on it. It's just nouns. So I remember we had an intern once who was like really into it, and she could say hazelnut in Icelandic, but she didn't know how to say my name is.
I see.
Which is hysterical, but it's kind of a fun add-on.
So it's good for building vocabulary, perhaps, but not so great for stringing together actual sentences.
No way. Okay. But it's cool, like no shade. So now we're going to kind of shift gears and go into proper like classes, in-person and academic classes.
Yes. And one thing that bears mentioning is if you're going to proper classes, you know, you're probably already in Iceland. At least that's advisable because the commute is going to be murder otherwise.
Boom. Good joke.
Many of these classes can be subsidized in whole or in part by your labor union or the Directorate of Labor. And I would recommend contacting them to ask how much of your classes they pay for. And if you don't know what union you're in, I suggest you find out quick, because most people in the work market are just automatically in a union because it's kind of like that here. And so when you see some of the prices of these places that we're mentioning, like, don't get too scared, because there's a good chance that your union will be able to pay for some, most, or even all of the cost.
Oh, yeah. And I think we'll do a later video on dealing with unions and like learning all of that, because that's something that foreigners don't often learn. And like you'd be surprised at how much unions will pay for and the crap that they'll give you.
Absolutely.
Not crap, awesome things like glasses or whatever, you know. But anyway, let's go on. Do you want to start?
Sure. There's Esja Edu. Esja being the mountain that is just north of Reykjavik here. It's right across the water from us. And Edu, like, you know, .edu. And they teach a lot of different languages, actually, but Icelandic is among them. And most importantly, they have classes at different times of day. There are evening classes as well. Because if they're just offered during the day, like maybe you can't get out of work to study. If you're raising a family, it might be a little bit stressful to have to go to an Icelandic language class after work. But there is flexibility there. And they do teach beginner, practical, and business Icelandic.
So that's good. I don't know anyone who's done it, but I like that it's cool that it teaches more languages than just Icelandic. I don't know, fun.
I think so too.
The next is Mimir. I don't know if it's just coincidence, but the majority of my friends who have studied Icelandic not at the university have done Mimir, and they really liked it. And I think Mimir has a reputation of being quite like intense. Like they're not gonna kind of like baby you with grammar. They really do. They have like a ton of different classes, like levels, and they're quite intense with that, which I think is good. Like they're not gonna baby you. That could be wrong. I mean, I bet you we're gonna get a comment like, I fucking hate them. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, but I think the cool thing about Mimir, yeah, like everyone I know who took it speaks really, really good Icelandic. They also have various times, and the classes meet 4 times a week. Again, it's kind of intense, but I think you need that. I don't think you can learn Icelandic from a 1 time a week class. That's like total. I mean, unless you're like a genius,
Right.
and then you probably don't even need a class, right?
No.
So,
Yeah. I mean, if you're some sort of savant and can learn a language in a week,
why are you watching this?
why are you even watching this? You don't need it. And that brings us to something that's very similar to Mimir, the tin can factory. And this was your suggestion, so why don't you talk about it?
It's very similar to Mimir in that it's like a non-university class. The one thing that I think is cool, I wonder if Mimir offers this and I just don't know, is that Tin Can offers classes that fit with a 2-2-3 schedule, which is what a lot of people who work in service here and are probably foreign and want to learn Icelandic, have. So I think that's really awesome because it's so difficult to schedule weekly events if you work on a 2-2-3 schedule, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And they have morning classes, they have evening classes, and on their website it says that they'll help you get the money back from the union, so that's also pretty chill.
That is.
Yeah, but I actually don't. I do, and I just don't know. But none of my personal friends have gone there, so can't speak to.
No, neither can I.
Quality.
But if you did learn Icelandic there, we'd love to hear from you in the comments.
Okay, next up
is Múltí Kúltí, which is a truncation of multicultural, and they have a lot of different events at this location, but they also offer Icelandic courses, and it looks pretty good. I don't know what else to say about it. It looks like a very straightforward, like beginners, advanced, intermediary type of setup for classes, and the prices are pretty reasonable as well. But of course the grandmama of all the Icelandic classes available in Iceland would be the University of Iceland. And as Hannah took this course, perhaps you'd like to break it down for us about how they do the teaching of Icelandic.
So there's 2 programs there. It's Icelandic as a second language, and they have something called the practical degree, which is a 1-year program where you have class in grammar, conversation, and Icelandic, like, I don't know, just like in general. The practical degree is really good for people like living in Iceland who maybe don't intend to study Icelandic at like a university level, as in they don't want to, like, they're not going to be writing literature essay, like, you get what I mean. They're people who want to live in Iceland but want to speak very proper Icelandic, want to learn proper grammar. I thought the practical degree was nice because it was extremely focused on daily life while also having a strong focus on like knowing the basics really well. So in conversation class, you'd have exercises where you had to go to like the bookstore and ask them and be like, "Mér finnst ævintýrabækurnar eins og Harry Potter mjög flott." Like, you know what I mean? Like it's kind of like embarrassing, but like it's fun to have to record that, or like you'd go to a cafe and be like, "Má ég fá cappuccino með sojamjölk," or something, and you have to record it. And then the grammar was fun. You read some fun, crazy books. You read like Benjamin Duva, which is like Icelandic as hell. We read Garðurinn, which is like Icelandic Twilight. That was sick.
Icelandic Twilight.
Like,
really?
Read this book. It's totally insane. It's
Okay.
so like, well, that's another video. It's the review of Garðurinn. But yeah, other than that, that's the practical degree. Also, the thing about the practical degree is I think if you take it seriously, you'll learn Icelandic very well. If you don't take it seriously, it's very easy to just pass and not learn anything. And that's what I got from that, because there were certainly people in my class who studied a lot and just got so good at Icelandic so quickly. And then there were people who like obviously didn't care and they just didn't learn anything. Now, along with the practical degree, there's actually a bachelor program in Icelandic as a second language at Háskóli Íslands. That's a 3-year program. I'd say the first semester of that program is everything you learn in the practical degree. And then it kind of moves on into more advanced territory. The first year of the bachelor degree is, I think, like, again, very focused on basics of grammar and knowing everything really well. And then from there, you start getting into like what I consider more like traditionally academic studies, like literature and like, you know what I mean? I don't know. I know a few people who finished it. I think the BA is interesting because people do like 1 year of it or 2 years of it. And again, if you take it seriously, I think you learn a lot. But if you don't, you know, it's the same as anything. You won't learn anything. Also, to be honest, if you look at the price of how much the university is per year, which is 70,000, is for an entire course, that is, if you take 6 levels of Mimir at 46,000 a course, like, you know, the BA ends up being really a good deal. Like, for a full year to do that many classes and get that level of instruction, I would say economically it's like the best deal. But I'm not a financial advisor.
No.
Yet.
Not yet. Anyway.
Yeah, so that was a long spiel. But I'd highly recommend it. And I'd highly recommend taking it very seriously.
It was an informative spiel.
Yeah, boom.
Nonetheless.
And the teachers are really great. Every teacher I had there was super cool.
I've heard this as well.
They're super cool.
I think I've seen these classes downtown, like on field trips with their teachers or something, in groups. And it's so that's another thing to look forward to if you take this class. Is you're not going to be sitting behind a desk the entire time.
It's so funny. I love the fact, like, I think that like something is fun. It's a very interesting group of people because like normally university or whatever, first year university, it's all like, I mean, for me, it was like 18-year-olds and you're young and like, you know, maybe like school isn't your first priority. But if you take the Icelandic as a practical degree, it's like all ages from people from around the world. And it's just such an interesting group because it's like it's just like who does this, you know?
Yeah.
So it was I met a lot of very cool people. I really enjoyed it.
It sounds like a good way to make friends, which can also be difficult when you first move to Iceland.
Totally. That's another, we should do how do you make friends.
Yes. Wow. We're pitching each other future.
I mean, we started. This is our series. This is the new series. But yeah, next we have our hard mode thing, which is just fucking doing it.
Yes, if you really want to challenge yourself, this is hard mode. 2 things: watching Icelandic media with subtitles in your native language. This is not super efficient.
It's an awful idea.
At all. It can give you a lot of the basics though, and you will get to hear Icelanders speaking Icelandic the way they speak it. But again, that's a very challenging way to learn Icelandic, and it's not recommended, which kind of segues into immersion, where if you get to a level where you're comfortable enough, like you've learned some conversational stuff, you can start insisting to all of your very, very, very patient friends that they only speak to you in Icelandic. Like at some point, you're going to have to do that anyway. I think.
Totally, yeah.
But if you get to like a basic level and then you say, that's it, I'm excising my mother tongue from my life. From now on, everyone is speaking Icelandic to me. Good luck. It's really not recommended for absolute beginners.
Oh, God.
But once you get kind of conversational, then you can start laying down those ground rules for your Icelandic friends. And I don't know, in your experience, because in my experience, this is very challenging, but what do you think? Is it not rather challenging to convince Icelanders to respond to you in Icelandic?
No, I don't know. Maybe my friends are like sociopathic and they like seeing me struggle. I don't know. Who knows? No, I think it's good. Like if you're in a group of people, I think that's the best is like, I've found that my goals were to get to a level of Icelandic where I could be in a group of people, like at a party or at dinner or something, and they're all speaking Icelandic, and like I understand everything that's going on, and I'm in the conversation, and I can speak English, and they understand, and like that's the level that I was interested in getting to, and also being able to like, because I get emails in Icelandic every day, like I read the news, like I read books in Icelandic, so it's like. I was never so focused on speaking, if that's, but I can speak fine, relatively well. So
I think so.
Yeah, so I think that was my goal, and that only happened when you sort of don't tell people to switch to English, when you're at a party or dinner or something. But yeah, I think the immersion thing, it's funny because I learned French through immersion, through full immersion. And I found that not hard. But I think learning Icelandic because of the grammar would be very difficult through immersion because you would just be like, why do they keep saying book in a different way?
Right.
You would be like, I don't understand this. So yeah, for the record, Icelandic has very complicated grammar. Like that's an understatement. It's kind of similar to Finnish in that it's just like, who chose this? Like who chose making the language like this? So yeah, that's what I would say. We wrote some tips. Do you want to start with the tips?
Yes. This is to just tie it all together. Whatever resources you use to use Icelandic, it's important to emphasize that you should have a multi-pronged approach. Like, don't just take classes.
Totally.
But also do this other stuff. Like, first of all, don't be scared of the grammar. Like, it will come. You should just focus on your practical Icelandic, the stuff you're going to say in day-to-day life. And after some time, you'll begin to hear what sounds right.
And like feels right,
yes,
which is even
when
funnier.
You're saying certain things.
Yeah.
But in a lot of Icelandic classes will begin with the grammar, kind of lead with that, and that can be super overwhelming. But don't let it scare you away.
I'd also put out that most Icelanders are not the best at Icelandic grammar. So like, if I remember doing Icelandic homework and I'd ask my friends to like check it over to just look to make sure I was right or whatever, and I would have conflicting answers from people because Icelanders are often sometimes unclear as to what is correct grammar wise. So I would say don't get too stressed about grammar. Like people know what you're talking about.
Yes, they absolutely do.
And the next is again consume Icelandic media, watch movie and TVs. I find that it's better to even watch without subtitles sometimes because I find that I don't actually match that well.
Yeah.
I found music much more helpful, to be honest. And
there's
then,
also listen to the radio, read articles as well.
Yes.
I read Icelandic news for a living, and so I do get a lot of that. And you'll begin to see that like some places use like a more everyday, easier to understand Icelandic than others, and that'll come with time. So if you're listening and reading and watching Icelandic, then that'll help integrate that language into your brain.
The next this is your tip.
Right.
Do you want to do this one?
Sure. Yeah. When you're ready, insist that Icelanders respond to you in Icelandic. Now, the reason why this keeps coming up is because a lot of foreigners will say that, like, that's the hardest part, is when you get good enough Icelandic, convincing Icelanders to answer you in Icelandic can be a little bit difficult. Like, I can attest that when I first moved here and I learned how to order a hot dog in Icelandic, there was a hot dog stand near my work, and I went there and I ordered a hot dog, and the woman working there responded to me in English, like, yes, do you want anything else?
Ugh.
And I was like, I'm going to go there every single day until this woman answers me in Icelandic. And it took 3 months of daily hot dog ordering for her to respond to me in Icelandic. And I was pretty much allergic to hot dogs by that point. But yeah, insist. When you speak Icelandic and someone answers you in English, just very gently say that you only want to speak Icelandic.
The next one is that you might be speaking faster than you think you are. I think that's a comfort thing. When you start knowing how to say things, you'll kind of rush through like Icelanders do. But like obviously your accent might not be as developed. I mean, John O'Duffy, comedian here, he moved. He had this joke that there's just nowhere else in the world where if you have an accent, people would be like, what did you say?
Right.
I cannot, like if you go to the America and someone is speaking English with like a French accent or a British accent or any kind of accent, people aren't like, hold up, you don't have my accent. What the fuck are you saying?
Yes.
Well, Icelanders often do that. It's genuine. Like they are not used to hearing Icelandic with an accent, and maybe they have some weird complex. I don't know.
I don't know either.
It's weird. So like, speak slowly at first and
pronounce every syllable.
Oh yeah, and the last one, is just sort of have fun. I found learning weird, funny words in Icelandic really helpful, and I used to throw the weirdest vocabulary. I would just find like bizarre old words or like totally inappropriate shit and just throw it in my regular speech.
Absolutely.
Like, I find that fun. I found that like actually really helped me learning like
Yeah.
kind of weird, inappropriate, not curse words, and not like, I mean, obviously you do that when you learn a language, but I mean like
In any
old,
language.
weird words, like, yeah, I don't know.
By all means. And yeah, when relating to consuming Icelandic media, watch Icelandic media that you're actually going to enjoy.
Totally.
Like Night Shift with Jón Gnarr and Pétur Jóhanns and all those folks. It's a genuinely funny TV series.
Totally.
Ráðherran is reportedly also very good. If you like crime dramas, Trapped,
Yeah.
you can see all this stuff, and like you'll absorb the language much faster if you're actually consuming media that you like. That's a part of having fun with it.
That's a part of having fun.
Yes.
Yeah, I read Harry Potter in Icelandic. I read Icelandic Twilight, Garpurinn. I read a lot of that kind of crap because I thought I like that. I like, I like a good YA novel. So that was fun for me to learn. So again, if you have any more thank you so much for watching. We really hope this was helpful. If you have any suggestions of other places to learn Icelandic or your own experiences with some of the places we've mentioned, leave them in the comments or email us at grapevine@grapevine.is. Check out the links that we've posted in this video and in the description.
Have a wonderful day. Goodbye and see you next time.
Bye.